What's going on, YouTube? Listen up, young elder gang. This is Shoeshine Joe at you with another banger. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video, fam. I hope this video get at least 100,000 likes. In this video, you will find history definitions, scripture information, and best of all, what we Americans have been deprived of from the beginning, the truth. Keep in mind, this content used in this video is intended for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes only. We will give you the total truth as we best understand it today. Be sure to hit that like button, young elder gang. Hit that subscribe button. If you're new to the channel, hit that bell, and don't forget to check back with us every day for new content. Imagine your family's story, your ancestors, their traditions, their connection to the land, suddenly erased by a law. In 1924, Virginia passed the Racial Integrity Act, a law made of words, not walls, but with the power to reshape lives. It dictated who people could marry and how they were identified, all in the name of so-called racial purity. The government decided your race for you, stamping it on birth certificates and marriage licenses. This wasn't just bureaucracy, it was a system of control, deepening segregation and dividing communities. For Virginia's Native American tribes, the law was devastating. Their ancient history and unique identities were ignored. Instead, the law forced them into categories that erased their existence. Official records became barriers, determining where you could live, who you could love, and what future you could have. The Racial Integrity Act was a quiet attack, not with weapons but with ink. It tried to erase Native Americans from Virginia's story, one document at a time. This was not just a law, it was a wound carved into history. The scars of that wound are still felt today, and it all began with a pen and a piece of paper. The Racial Integrity Act forced every Virginian into one of two boxes, white or colored. No in-between, no recognition of Native identity. The law's definition of white was so strict, almost no one qualified. Native Americans were forced into the colored category, erasing their heritage on every official document. This wasn't an accident, it was a deliberate act to simplify and control, ignoring the reality of Virginia's people. Being labeled colored meant facing the full force of Jim Crow segregation, discrimination in schools, jobs, and housing. Birth certificates and marriage licenses became tools of erasure, making it nearly impossible for Native families to prove their lineage. This process is now called paper genocide, destroying a people by erasing them from records. If Native Americans didn't exist on paper, the state could deny their rights and take their land. The law turned identity into a weapon. It was a war fought with forms, not guns, and for many it felt like their very existence was being erased, all with the stroke of a pen. At the center of this erasure was Walter Plecker, head of Virginia's Bureau of Vital Statistics. A believer in eugenics, Plecker was obsessed with racial purity. He enforced the Racial Integrity Act with zeal, targeting Native Americans relentlessly. Plecker refused to recognize Native identity, ordering officials to list everyone as either white or colored, never Indian. He sent threatening letters, personally changed documents, and kept lists of Native surnames to hunt down families. Generations of tribal history were wiped out with a single signature. Families were split, one sibling labeled Indian, another colored, creating confusion and pain. Some tried to pass as white, forced to abandon their culture to escape discrimination. Plecker's campaign isolated tribes, making it nearly impossible to prove their existence to the federal government. His goal to sever the link between past and present, erasing Native people from Virginia's future. The damage he caused still echoes in Native communities today, all because of one man's pen. As Virginia's first registrar of the Bureau of Vital Statistics from 1912 to 1946, Plecker was a zealous advocate for white supremacy and eugenics who weaponized his office to enforce the Racial Integrity Act. In 1930, Plecker successfully lobbied for an update to the law that defined a colored person as anyone with even a drop of black ancestry. He applied this rule broadly to all Native Americans in the state, arguing that centuries of intermarriage meant no pure Virginia Indians existed. Plecker had birth and marriage certificates reclassified from Indian to colored, and threatened clerks with jail time if they recorded people as anything other than white or colored. He also provided state health officials with lists of surnames belonging to families he believed were misrepresenting their race. Plecker's racist directives specifically targeted tribes like the Monacan and Pamunkey, forcing native peoples into the colored designation and denying their cultural heritage and very existence. The harm didn't end with Plecker's retirement. For decades, Native Virginians had their heritage stripped away, leaving gaps in the historical record. When tribes sought federal recognition, they faced a wall. Official records denied their existence. They turned to church logs, family Bibles, and oral histories to piece together their past. It took years of advocacy for some tribes to finally gain recognition and access to vital resources. The fight was not just legal, it was deeply personal. Imagine being told your whole life that you are not who you know you are. The Racial Integrity Act left emotional scars, forcing generations to defend their identity. Even after the law was struck down in 1967 by the Supreme Court's Loving v. Virginia decision, the false records remained. The struggle to correct them and to heal continues. The story of paper genocide is not just history, it's a living legacy. But Native communities have refused to be erased. Their survival is an act of resistance. Understanding this history matters. The Racial Integrity Act shows how laws can be weapons and how identity can be stolen with a signature. Today, Virginia allows people to correct falsified records, a step toward justice. Several tribes have finally gained recognition thanks to decades of perseverance. Reclaiming history happens in tribal centers, museums, and family stories. It's in the elders' voices, in the traditions passed down, and in the refusal to be silenced. By learning these stories, we honor those who survived and those who fought to be seen. The Racial Integrity Act tried to break the chain of identity, but it failed. Heritage lives in people, not paperwork. The scars remain, but so does the strength. A true story once told can never be erased, and that's why we remember.